Hey everyone, Corrie here. This is being recorded on Monday, September the 6th. I did have a message for this weekend that was supposed to be on YouTube, but I recorded it, saved it, and no idea where it went. Couldn't find it to get it downloaded. So I just figured that it really wasn't a message for today. Or for the weekend. Like maybe it was just a message for me, but it was beautiful. Anyway, we are here on a Monday. I hope you all had a beautiful weekend, and I'm looking forward to seeing what actually comes up. I did notice that, and I've been getting some messages about some of my previous recordings talking about how we're just going to see this sudden influx of so much weather and so many weather patterns, and it would all come like in this later part of the summer, and it's unfolding. We are seeing it, and and they're not predictions that we want to crow about, of being proud about, because they're often things that leave behind collateral damage and the loss of life, and that means animal life as well. So there's a lot of things that are taking place out there, and we are experiencing it, and we're in it. So for the energy that's coming up today was the sense of pull back but go, pull back but go. Be very aware, be consciously aware of the intention behind your words. Be very aware of your own actions before you start taking them. Think about some of the things that you need to really give consideration to before you say yes and before you say no to things. There's a lot of this energy that's playing out for us. And so we're being brought into this energy. We're being guided, or we don't even get a choice. We're in this energy. We're in this energy. So we're just in this energy, and in this time of where, there is a lot of truths, a lot of veils falling. There's a lot of bullshit lies that are just being seen. But the more that we look from the view of here, of when we look from this place, is that the world just looks more and more ridiculous. Just saying. It's ridiculous. And the level of what is acceptable, deemed acceptable, is ludicrous. There's just so much that's happening. And it's just like the angel and guides just shake their head like, what happened? What happened? Where did it all go so wrong? So we are very off course in a lot of areas, including in spirituality. And I'm not even going to fluff that up, even in spirituality, because that need to create collective energy leads to cliquish energy. And it just is. So being aware of our own actions, your own behaviors, your own habits, your own ability to be so judgy. This is a week to really stop, reflect, and take some really good looks. Take a really good look at areas of your lives where we can clean up our own actions, like where we can clean up our thoughts, our words, our beliefs, our own behaviors, kind of wipe off the smoke and mirrors is what I'm getting. There's a lot of smoke and mirror stories out there, and a lot of smoke and mirror images. And we don't realize how infused our own systems that we think are good, that are all good and don't need any improving, have really been contaminated with some of the influences that actually came from darker thoughts, darker places, darker energy. And that's why we do inner child healing. And that's why shadow work is actually important. But going beyond the commercialism of shadow work, and means that diving deep into your own motives and your own behaviors, even so much as when you want to put up those strong boundaries and those strong walls and say, F this, like I don't have to let anybody in, and I can just reject those kind of people and refuse. Well, who's those kind of people you're referring to? Because they are also people. And so we do have those things that are really coming up that have came up in my past year in consideration to move beyond just compassion and to caring. And so we really have to start to care about what we are even allowing and what we allow our children to even be a part of, what we allow our children to hear, what we let ourselves keep listening to and hearing, but also opening up to perspectives of, when we shut down, when we fully go into that trauma response of shutting down and avoiding, I don't want to hear anything negative. I don't want to hear anything bad. I don't want to hear anything. Well, we need to know what is there and what is happening before we place such quick judgment upon another, because we're ultimately always being sold that fear story. And I believe in that sense of faith and hope. And so that's coming up in the message for this week. Big time, big time. And who we are behind closed doors matters the most. That is my quote. I live by that. I swear by that. And I wasn't about fixing up my image for the public or making sure that I had the best, greatest videos, or that my videos were clean, or that they aligned to make sure I got the right followers. Behind closed doors is what mattered. And I put a lot more effort, invested a lot more time this past year into cleaning up who I was behind closed doors rather than who I was behind the camera in an image to build a reputation that the world could define who I am. And I think that's so important for us. Who are you behind closed doors? How are you showing up in your world? How do you treat yourself? How do you treat your others? How do you treat animals? Right? When I hear people say that stupid animal, I hate that kind of animal. I hate this, I hate that. Think, if you could only hear yourself and see what is coming from you when you have that projection. And so when whatever we have happening behind the closed doors, and then we feel like we have to hide it, mask it, it's like we could be yelling, screaming, crying behind closed doors, and then hold on, I got to put face on, or, shoving in that food that we know is not good for us. And then wiping our face off, okay, I'll just pretend like I didn't eat that. I'll pretend like I didn't do it. The only thing and the only person we are lying to is ourselves, And it's because we are denying ourselves the moments that matter the most, that are sacred, to be able to live in those sacred moments, to exist in those sacred moments, to be present in those sacred moments. Because these moments of showing up, they have sacred energy. And to be able to be blessed to channel is beautiful. But this message is, the divine presence that comes through is for us first. Because we have to fix our world before we can keep trying to fix somebody else's, or before we can judge somebody else's, or before we can become such keyboard warriors to the rest of the world. We have to look at our own. What are we doing? What are we really angry about? What are we really mad about? What are we really frustrated about? What's really happening behind closed doors? And that's everywhere for us right now, for us to bring attention to that, notice that. And so we have the mystical dreamer. And so, your head's in the clouds. And so is your head in the clouds? Have you really, and for me, having your head in the clouds, this mystical dreamer is knowing that there's always these worlds that exist. So we have this world, we have that world, but see this white line? That's the world we're seeking. That right there, that's the world that defines us. That's the world that defines us. And this is where our innate character really, truly appears. Are we the same in this world and that world? Because it all forms from right here. This is where the meat of it is. This is where the substance is. This is where all that we are exists, right here. And that appears as nothing. That's that breakthrough, but that's that breakthrough moment, right? That we wish we were this, we wish we were that. And that fulfillment, and what is filling us up, and how are we being filled up? So this card today speaks about the line. There's a fine line between this and that. There is a fine line between light and dark. There's a fine line between light work and dark magic. There's a fine line. And what it is your intentions, what your heart holds, the hurts, the stories, the narratives, how we see our memories, how our previous experiences are dictating what it is that we want to see happening in our lives and how bad we want it. At what cost are we letting ourselves be entangled in this? And remembering that your thoughts about another, or about what you feel about how you believe another maybe, having some influence upon your life in a negative way, or like you believe you're living in the shadows of somebody else and that you have to be this and that they're holding you back. Well, the moment that you say, I need to be greater than them, you literally place an energetic thread, a curse, a negative energy, say, I'm going to put this hook into you and you're going to be responsible even though you don't know it. And I'm going to overshadow your light with my darkness because I want to be this, because I want to be that. So we're very much in this energy, and we see a whole world that's created from that. And so the mystical dreamer, that mermaid energy, is that she can either be of absolute beauty or she can be the curse in the night, right? And so she's either reaching for something out of inspiration and love, that is just something inside of herself, a light that sparkles and shines within, or she is angry that somebody else has something that she's yet to have, or she thinks somebody else has it. And so our thoughts, our words, there's a collective energy here. So when we return to the essence of a childhood dream and how we were dreamt out childhood, there was an innocence in there. There was just a pure innocence in those childhood dreams. I want to be a rock star. And so you see yourself, I want to be a rock star. And then you get the karaoke machine, you get the microphone, or you sing in the wooden spoon until somebody tells you you can't sing, till somebody tells you that's bullshit and you can never be a rock star and this could never happen. And then you start to build a life from the shadows. Well, I better find something that I can be, instead of believing. So maybe we're not in our childhood dreams. And I teach this in More Than Existing all the time. That's one of my first questions. What was your childhood dreams? And everybody had them. And that was those things of, I'm going to put on a cape and I'm going to fly. And so those energies and those truths they were innocent and there was a purity in them. So when from an adult that we can have our dreams and have a purity and an innocence and a pure of thought and a pure of intention, that we only look into that self, and that we know there's a fine line, and that we know that that fine line sometimes means that we don't always take that higher road. Sometimes we have to drop down and we have to take that road less traveled, or the road that is more traveled, or we have to do things, but we know who we are innately. So the innate character that you keep wanting to see the greatness probably in somebody else, like, oh, but I know they have good inside of them. That innate character was hardwired. And that innate character has a truth to it. But you can build around some of those innate, such as the tendency to be a little bit jealous, a little bit of insecure. And so that character may be there, but do you let its head rear? Do you let its head come up and then push it back down and say, no, shame on you, you can't come? Or do you acknowledge it and say, what is really bothering you? And why are you here now? And why are you here? And I'm not leaving you out of my dreams, because you may serve a purpose. That part of you serves a purpose. But when you build light around it, when you bring the light in and you let life surround it, you know then the difference between the light and the dark, because that is where we are right now. We have to be able to use discernment to be able to see the light and the dark. So who we are when nobody's looking matters the most. Who we are behind closed doors matters the most. And that's huge in your message. So that The second card, and the only other card I have for you to go with this message this week, is Universal Light of Love. This is Lumerian. These are from my deck of cards. This is one of my beta testing decks. They don't look like this anymore, but this is Lumerian. And Lumerian is speaking of that, being vulnerable, being real, that truth of, that hidden gem of yourself. And having to just know that when we fall in, and we don't fall victim to our emotions, but we fall into speaking to that emotional experience, that emotional moment we're having, when we ask ourselves before we let ourselves fall into the entrapment of the trigger, is that we become aware of what we are and why we are the way we are, and how we can be the change in our own lives. And that is acknowledging if I truly was coming from a place of love, if I was truly treating myself with love, if I was truly thinking of a loving solution, a loving way, how would that look? What would that be? Who would I be? And coming from that place will bring the changes that you need to start to see within your lives in this pause, this moment of reflection that is here for us this week as a fly goes by. Much love. Have a beautiful, beautiful week. And I will see you. You'll be seeing more. I got more videos to come. Much love. Bye-bye.